Hi everybody. I have been missing the face-to-face component of class a little bit, so I figured I would try something a little more multimedia and create a video to give you some feedback on your media release assignments. Overall, I have nothing but compliments for you guys. I think this is possibly the best batch of media releases I've ever gotten. I really appreciate your attention to detail, especially with the formatting. You guys all kept true to the details of the assignment, or rather the scenario, and you kind of elaborated where you had to, and so I think all of them came out in that regard very well. There were a couple consistent errors that I saw, so I just want to kind of go over that and revisit that with you. And what I'm going to try to do later tonight is create a composite media release of all the best parts of different media releases that are written by you guys, and put it up so you guys can see an example of what I guess the best of the best media release would be. So anyway, my first comment is that a lot of times I saw that the media releases were written more like an article and less like a media release. Articles tend to be a bit more flowery, a bit more subjective, give a bit more commentary, whereas media releases really have to be straight and to the point. So if you think about it, a media release is, you can publish it on your website and then that's direct to consumer, or you're sending it to an editor in the hopes that they will pick it up and publish it in their paper, or publish parts of it, use part of it as the beginning of an article about your organization for their publication, whether it's a trade publication, a newspaper, or an online blog even, right? So you want to give them the facts right up front. If you think about it, journalists, editors have hundreds of media releases come across their desk in any given day. So you have basically the title and maybe the first two sentences to grab their attention. If you don't do that, then they're going to pass it by. So make sure to that point you have a really strong lead. And this is where we get to that inverted pyramid format. So you want to put the broadest, most important details up top, and then as you go down in the structure of the media release, you'll get more specific with your details. So again, a journalist, an editor, or any reader should be able to grasp the intent if they could only read, two things about, if you could only convey just a very few facts about what you're trying to say, what would they be? That's what goes in the first two sentences. If people could walk away only knowing two things, what would they be? That's what goes into the first two sentences. So basically those first two sentences, again, they're called your lead, and they have to cover the who, what, when, where, why, and how. And I know a lot of times, especially in English, we're taught to write to kind of like build up to the points, or build up to the goal of the whatever we're writing. However, in public relations, for media releases, it's the opposite. You state your point, almost your conclusion, right up front, and then you spend the rest of the document kind of explaining it and giving details about it. So that's really the gist of the inverted pyramid format. So again, in terms of tone, article versus media release, you don't necessarily want to have a conversational tone. Even though you want to be friendly, you're really just giving the facts and sticking to the point. Where you get to be friendly and over the top and be a bit subjective instead of just providing the objective facts is when you put in quotes and attribution. And so quotes, you as the media release specialist or as the media specialist would write the quotes, but you would attribute them to someone else who's relevant in the organization. So somebody used the Associate Dean, Nora Schultz. That would be a great person to attribute a quote to. So you would write the quote saying something like, "This is the best program ever. We are so proud to be working with Abington Township to launch this program. We think that will be beneficial for students at Abington High School and Penn State Abington alike." You would run the quote by her for approval, and that way that's where you can get across the point that it's really great. Also, quotes with attributions are great to have in a media release, because that gives the journalist something to write or to use in an article where it looks like they might have interviewed someone at Penn State, but really they don't have to do the extra legwork. Again, a media release is meant to get their attention and then also give them all the information they need with minimal extra legwork to print something about the organization. So the more concise and to the point and factual you can make it with some attributes that add like kind of the human element to it, that's what journalists are looking for in a media release to pick up and print part of or work with to create an article. That's really it. The last thing I wanted to mention is a lot of you could have used a closer. So maybe a one paragraph, 2 or 3 sentences at the very bottom about Penn State Abington's or Penn State's previous involvement with the community. You could mention Thon, the fact that we share fields with Abington Township, or some of the other connections we have with the local township. And or you could also add a boilerplate. And as I stated in your lesson, and I think it was in your reading too, boilerplate is that kind of just like basic 3 or 4 sentences of information that doesn't change about the organization. So Penn State Abington is part of the Penn State system, one of 23 Commonwealth campuses. Penn State Abington serves the Philadelphia community and surrounding region, and then 2 or 3 more sentences. And so again, that way the journalist doesn't have to go online or call someone at our campus and do extra research. They can just integrate that information as background in their article. So I hope this all makes sense. Look for the composite media release sometime in the next day or 2, and you could check out the Dropbox and or the gradebook for your grades with feedback. I didn't give a lot of general feedback. I used track changes on all of the media releases, so look for that attachment. You'll probably have to look for that in the Dropbox. And if you have any questions or if you have problems accessing anything, let me know. Have a great weekend.